Hi, this is Dave, Fell Running Guide. Welcome to this week's navigation task. We're in the Lake District for this week's task, and as usual I want you to identify the features circled and also see if you can work out where the photo was taken from. So we're looking for this rocky feature here with a steep drop on the right hand side, this little pimple of a feature here in the middle, and the map that we are using is the Ordnance Survey 1 to 50,000. So can we see those features on the map? Let's have a look at them in a little bit more detail. Well, what can we see? We have this pile of stones or cairn there on a high point. Now this may or may not be a summit. Just because there's a pile of stones there doesn't mean it's the summit itself, but it may well be. Then we've got rocky ground extending away from us at this point here, and the ground disappears, and it looks like down ahead of us and to our left the ground drops down. We've got this flatter area in the middle distance, and then the ground rises up, flat horizon with this feature just breaking the horizon, and then over to the right here, ground rising up, rising up, rising up to this rocky prominence, and then a very steep rocky drop off to the right. I've just zoomed in a little bit for you on that the left hand feature, just so you can see a little bit more clearly. We've got quite a pronounced drop to the right hand side of that feature as we look. Okay, does any of that make sense on the map? Let's have a look. So we were looking from a high point across into the distance to very rocky features with a steep drop on their right. Well, our eye is straight away drawn to all this rocky ground here, the Langdale Pikes area, and we can see the ground dropping steeply to the right or to the south, and then to the north was that flatter area of ground along into the distance. We're looking for a summit. We'll come on to that other feature in a moment, but then coming back towards the camera, the ground was dropping down, wasn't it? So that could be dropping down towards Markcrag Moor, which would mean that we were looking from west to east, looking over from this area somewhere. We couldn't see down into this valley here because the shape of the ground in front of us was obscuring that, putting it in what's called dead ground, but we could certainly see over to there. So could we be somewhere around here? Now someone suggested we might be on this area here, but I think if we were here we would be able to see down into this valley and then up the other side, because there's not much between the camera viewpoint and the drop off. Whereas if we were more up on this area here on the ridge of Rossett Pike looking eastwards, we'd have a few hundred meters before the ground dropped away down there, so that would obscure this. So that leads us to think we may be over here somewhere. So if we were looking over to this, we'd expect to see Pike of Stickle to start with, and then there's another high point here, slightly higher, Harrison Stickle, behind it 736. Can we see that? Well, if that's Pike of Stickle there, and then just off and behind, slightly to the left, is the second summit, Harrison Stickle. So as we came along, we'd have a slight raise there and then dropping down, and then our feature. So what might that be? Well, if we come north from the Pikes, we've got this slight raise of Thurnaker Knot there. We've also got this high point 762 of high raise there. So some people were thinking that could be either of those, but that doesn't really fit with that steep profile on its right hand side. Remember that? This steepening here, because High Raise is on a broad flat area, and Thurner Knott has got a gradual rise up to it. So what about a bit in between? So the ground rises higher further on here, and then we've got this little feature here of Sergeant Man with its steep rocky southern face. So that would fit more with the feature that we were looking at. So our answers were that actually was the summit cairn on Rossett Pike, looking over across the ground, rising from Martcragmore up to Thurner Knott, with Sergeant Man to the left and Pike of Stickle to the right. So Bob Graham contenders or runners or people familiar with it will probably recognise that, all part of the journey. There are a few people who got it correct on social media this week, so well done if that was you. If you didn't get it right, then not to worry. Hope you now know what you got wrong. But as ever, thanks for watching. Look out for next week's navigation task. Bye for now.